Greetings, my lovely people. Abogogo nabomkhulu, abaphansi nabaphezulu, sanibonani. Today at the Academy for Contextual Metaphysics, with Ulinda Lwanxele, or Brother Menzi Masego and Assistant Dogozo Numalo, we are here to talk to you about the different types of Indigenous practitioners. You know, when we talk about like traditional Indigenous practitioners, people always think we're talking about Izangoma. So yeah, we're here to kind of just discuss it and see what we know, what we've come up with, what we've learned through the research that we do within the academy. So we know that there are different types of Indigenous and traditional practitioners. Some identify as just Indigenous practitioners, while others identify as just traditional practitioners. But let's see, yes, what all Brother Masego and Assistant Dogozo have to say about these different subgroups. So over to you guys.
From my side, I'm just going to discuss the different types of healers that we have. We have healers who use water. Some can be called abatandazi, others can be just called izangoma zamanzi. You get people that use earth. Some of them use stones, crystals, and other different types of stones to heal and to take away negative energy. Others use herbs. Others use salt and sand, but those are all different types of earths. And then you get those who are not exactly healers, but they're practitioners in the sense that they can predict the future, they can decode the past and see what the future holds by decoding the past. Others can look up in the stars, and when they see a certain star, they know a certain king's going to be born or a certain king's going to die. And then you have the mediums, the people that will communicate between our ancestors and us and other spirits and us and other energies and us. That will be the clairvoyance nezangoma. So there's a various spectrum of types of practitioners that we are referring to as Indigenous practitioners. So yeah.
All right, fantastic. Look at that. Now we know so there's not just the Izangoma that we can go to when we need help. So Brother Menzi, do you want to come in and just talk to us about the Indigenous knowledge holders?
Greetings everyone. Sanibonani, Chamagwini, Dumelang. Indigenous knowledge holders really are as diverse as the term implies. We can just begin by saying everyone is indigenous to their native land. Everyone is indigenous to their native land. And within each native land, there are natural forces, there are natural phenomena. By phenomena, I mean there are healing herbs, there are healing roots, there are healing traditions that are natural or traditional to that particular space, So, but when we speak as Africans, there's also supernatural forces, mythological forces, beyond just natural. But when you speak from the African context, because contextually we are speaking as Africans right here or in the Southern Hemisphere, the indigenous knowledge holders and practitioners are people who are initiates of a particular school of thought. And there are many different schools of thought. They are, I won't list all of them, but maybe we can talk about them as time goes by in this conversation. But when I say that they are initiates, a person who is a nyanga, for example, what we call inyanga, often inherits the gift from their bloodline, either from their grandmother or from their grandfather. And in their inheriting, they don't just inherit it just directly with okay, Baba Swehambile, now it's this Kwama Sako. There's a certain kind of initiation that they usually have to go through in terms of training, right? But also there are different kinds of other inheritance, healing indigenous a healing inheritance, whereby someone nje kuyaziwa ukuthi hey, the person une-intuition mayethe uzwe izandla zakhe zishisa, uyazi something is going to happen, whether good or bad. Or mayephuphe kabi wavuka ekuseni akajwayele ukuvuka, but that night makwazi ukuthi uvukile wamemeza, kuyaziwa ukuthi una something. Some people may look at it as imimoya ethize, but some people may look at it, no, why vele ugogo wakhe ubenza nje, awunobaba wakhe ubenza nje. So they've inherited a gift, and it is indigenous to that particular, according to the articles, according to the according to how can I say, specific particularities and things like that. Then it is, you can say it's identifiable as indigenous to is Amaxhosa. This one is indigenous to Abakoi. This one Abatwa. This one is indigenous to Abenguni. This one is indigenous to the Indian Southern African.
Even to clans, you know.
Yes.
There are certain clans that are known to have like certain gifts, you know, that just like are passed down like through generations. Yes. Sorry, continue, Brother Menzi. Let's just adding into that.
No, that's it. There's nothing that I wanted to add on that part. I just wanted to say, Uguti, when we think indigenous, first of all, I just want to bring that part. When we say indigenous, we must not always imagine that it's just black people in Southern Africa. Indigenous means indigenous. Everybody is indigenous in every part of the 18 corners of the world, or whatever they call it, the 4 corners. You know, every part of the globe has its indigenous people and its indigenous practitioners, and they are usually initiated to the traditional school of thought and on the world view of their ancestors, and they practice today whatever has been practiced by their ancestors, and they may refine it, and it may grow, and it is dynamic according to the needs and necessities and available resources of the time.
That's very true. Because like I'm thinking also like right now, a lot of people are coming into, you know, like what we call it calling, you know, like spiritual calling or ancestral calling. And there's so many paths out there. And which is why you sometimes find people start initiation and they do not finish it because perhaps they are being initiated into a path, or like for example in my case where I've had so many like different people, like people from different walks of life coming up to me saying, wait, you need to be Isangoma, or you need to be Umtandazi, or you should be cognizant, or you should be like this. And there's so much, like, you know, deep down, which you have a gift, but like, how do you choose? Because it's not everybody that gets, you know, like these dreams where, you know, Ukoko Wako comes to you and say, that you need to go to and to do that. But like you find with a lot of us, we somehow getting like self-initiated into this. And by self-initiated, I mean we go through this path by ourselves as individuals, but obviously with the guidance of our spirits and our ancestors and them. But like we don't end up like going into a training, yakobela, so to speak. So yeah, like within like the indigenous, or rather the traditional healers themselves, is like different types of healers. You have, like Udogozo was saying, you have Isangoma, you know, like people that deal with the herbs and then some concussions and stuff. And then these are people who are also diviners, yes, and they also like heal. And then you have like Izinyanga, you know. Can you talk a bit about like the difference between like Izinyanga and Isanusi and Isangoma?
I think Isanusi falls more under the knowledge holder aspect, because someone like Ukhwedo Musa would fall under Isanusi because they hold knowledge, they're able to access knowledge from the ethereal realm and be able to interpret it for us here in this realm. So they would fall under there. But Inyanga, if I were to give it an English word, I would say a herbalist. Umuntu osebenza ngama-herbs, who can heal you, your body using herbs, can also heal you on a spiritual level using herbs. But the medium of healing are herbs. Sometimes in kabati, sometimes amatshe. So it
Yes,
will
of
depend
course.
what they are indigenous to, what it is that they use. But for us KwaZulu, it's normally inhlabathi, usawoti, and then just general herbs.
Yes, and it's also possible to find people who walk all these paths, right? People who are all of these things. Like somebody
Yes.
who uses herbs, and also we mentioned water blessers. So water blessers kakhulu, wona you find them they aligned with the izinto religious, so to speak. Because like for example, prophecy Agumazayoni or Agumashembe. They are water blessings and they are healers. Back in the days, I used to call them they called abatandas then. But like labababegana izandla, right? We talking about the same thing when we're talking about water blessings and laba ababegana izandla. Or these are like
Sometimes a water blesser does have ukwazi ukubekana isandla. But ukubekana isandla is a different aspect on its own. Khona abantu abakwazi ukubekana isandla kuphela abangakwazi to bless water. Yeah, so it depends on what kind of a gift that you got from our ancestors.
And then like well, that makes a lot of sense. But what about like the African churches now? You know, because I know obviously every time when I think about church, we think about the Bible or Christianity or anything like that.
And the Lutherans and the Roman Catholics and those
exactly.
The colonial ones. I call them the colonial ones.
Yes. But like how do we then like what makes our African churches like distinct or the healers that that belong to these churches distinct then? Because I
from Christianity.
Yes, with like the Christian churches now, but they have their healers, you know, they pray and they lay hands on people and they give people concussions, you know. We've seen churches out there fixing things, and they also advise people to use, I don't know, snakes and like other kind of herbs and whatever. So
you're talking about extremities now. Those are the extremes. Let's start with the easy ones. Let's start with what Dogozo is talking about in terms of in the church, in the Christian church. I don't know if there's any other, but in the Christian churches, the people kuna articles of faith, and in these articles of faith, there are things called the seven gifts of the Spirit, right? So these 7 gifts, amongst the 7 gifts of the Spirit, there's the laying of hands, the interpretation of scripture. There are various ones. There is prophecy,
speaking in tongues, and
discernment, speaking in tongues, and interpreting the tongues. Now, the issue what I'm always explaining to Christians is this: Uguti, everything that they say is unique to them is not unique to them. It has been there before. It is indigenous to a particular. It is indigenous to a particular culture. The language that we see about the 7 gifts of the Spirit in the Christian church was there in the Mediterranean area, in the Mesopotamian, and in the so-called Middle East at that particular time. It is the language which is interpreted into English and later into all these different other languages. It is still the language which is indigenous to the people who come from a particular place in Canaan, you know, around Egypt. And most crucially, like the conversation I was having with my mother this morning on the phone when she sent me Egyptian gods and saying, "Oh, look, God sent plagues." And listen to this very carefully. God sent 10 plagues to Egypt, according to the book of Exodus 6.
Yes, I know that.
To show Uguti, yeah, God lo Yahweh, Jehovah. He sent curses to the house of the Pharaoh in Egypt and the whole nation to show Uguti is more powerful than their so-called gods.
Now, the strange thing about this is that none of these things that are called gods by the Israelite God are actual gods. They are natural phenomena. The river Nile is a river. The sun is a sun. A frog is a frog. A scorpion is a scorpion. Just because the indigenous people of Egypt depicted those those beings as part of their spiritual tradition, of which they could use to heal, to deal with the soil, to deal with planting, to deal with seasons, for them to understand, to understand their own cosmology. They needed to use things that are present around environment. But now, the problem with what happens with religion when Akoko is the fact that confrontation of different civilizations, indigenous people from different parts of the world, creates conflict because they want, I'll put Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye puts this way. He says, everybody wants somebody to be their own piece of clay. So one indigenous person wants the other indigenous person to understand the world according to their cosmology, not according to their own context. That's where the conflict happens.
Yes.
And that's a very big problem, because then the variety of healer starts to die away. Because let's say, for example, that Sangoma that Menzi gave an example of Ukobel. If I come to him with a different gift, he's going to want me to conform to what he's doing, as opposed to having me explore what I'm here to do, what was my assignment to my ancestors. Yes. So it becomes a conflict and a problem in that sense. Now all these different types of practitioners are going to die out, because certain people believe it was as opposed to being able to explore the energy of healing in its awesomeness.
I mean, it's very true. We live in a society that is full of diverse human social groups, and so everybody should be allowed to follow their own. Because I'm just making that reference of Christianity a bit. I'm just thinking about is it like Abraham and Jacob, or okay, I'm not really familiar with the Christianity, but you find they used to pass down their beliefs, of God wabo to their sons, and so you say, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, or the God of Jacob, or the God of Israel, and so forth, and all these people basically like lineage, just like we are doing with our own traditional and indigenous practices. But what about we talked a bit about clairvoyants, and now these are like the people that use crystals, for example, crystal balls, or they do palmistry, or they do tarot reading. Can we also say these are like indigenous practitioners? And
definitely.
Because
those they're indigenous to maybe different parts of South Africa, but they are indigenous somewhere, and their healing practices, it's similar. It's like how Isangoma will use amatambo and a tarot card reader will use tarot cards. It's the same thing. You throw down, you have to pass your energy to those who through the cards or through amatambo. So it's ubungoma, but it's ubungoma from a different space. So that's why I was a tarot card reader. So they're all practitioners. They're just from different spaces in the world.
And then because when we're talking about these now complementary and alternative practitioners, because that's the general term that is used, that includes like aboma yoga instructors, right? And other different types of like healing practices, and those include like abo acupressure. And we have our own, like African, because these ones are mostly Asian and Chinese. So we have our own, like other somewhat alternative or complementary healing practices that do not necessarily involve going to Isangoma per se, but you still get like your own kind of healing through engaging in those groups. Like, for example, we know we have Rastafarians, well, Rastafarianism is a religion, it's a predominantly African religion, and but they also have like their ways of practicing like a healing, which might not necessarily be like a physical healing, but like a healing of the spirit and healing of the society. Because another thing, when we're thinking about healing, we usually just like want to focus on the physical and the mental, like the body.
We focus on the
but like
body.
yes, so healing, it's not just about the body, but it's also about like your spirit, it's also about your environment. So I mentioned it's like most of these indigenous practitioners, they are much more broad in terms of like approachable to a healing. Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, sorry. Go ahead,
Nancy.
Douglas.
No, go ahead, Nancy. It's cool. Go back.
Okay, for me, that is very close to my heart. The issue of the healing of the earth. This is the reason why I embrace ancient Egyptian, what I would call astrotheology. I embrace ancient Egyptian astrotheology mainly because it takes care of the entire environment. Like I was explaining earlier, that biblical story where God smites Egypt by using the river, the God of the Israel uses the river, uses frogs falling from the sky, which is weird, but it happens in some kind of natural settings, but it's weird. But there's a whole lot of crazy miracles that happen. But at the end of the day, it shows to me that there was some kind of natural imbalance there. But the way, the traditional indigenous way of ancient Egypt, which is an ancient African way, which the ancient Egyptians also learned from Central Africa, the bottom, the central parts of the Nile. What I'm saying is this: to heal the body, we must think also of the body as the extended body. The earth itself is a body. It's a body of water, it's a body of rocks, it's a body of trees and all that. So we are an extension of that earthly body. And the ancient Egyptian way used to have a way of making the nation, people from child to other young adults to the ancient and to the dead. You all have to obey a law called Ma'at. What does that law mean? It means cosmic order, right? So the clairvoyant did not do something out of the ordinary that another person would not do. There was no, in fact, let me put it this way. No one has more special powers than the other because everyone has access to the earth, right? But if the earth is polluted, if the rivers are polluted, if Intaba is polluted, you cannot expect health on earth. If the river is polluted, you cannot expect health of the body. If the tree is cut down and bent down and misused, you cannot expect health in the home. If the bee, the small little bee, is wiped out, you cannot expect the flowers to grow. You cannot expect medicine to be gotten from those flowers. So it is all holistic. But then we get opposing ideologies whereby, oh, if you're clairvoyant, you're getting your powers from Satan. No. Oh, you can see the future. That power that's for you to predict the future, it comes from the devil. No, it came from the moon and the stars and the position of the sun, and the position of and the weather at a particular time. That's all it came from. And my grandmother had it because they obtained it from there. And that wisdom
is astronomy.
passed through my DNA. It's been passed through my DNA. Therefore, I have it because my great ancestor had it. So it's coming back because there's no death. It just keeps coming back.
Yes, Sister Della, do you wanted to say something?
No, Mendy just said everything I wanted to say, but it's all good. I knew he was going to say it better than me. I knew he was going to say it better than me. That's why I was like, he must say it.
Compliment.
Yeah, yes, of course, that is good. Thank you so much. This has been great. I think now people would be just like wondering, okay, so who do I go to? So if I have like this kind of condition, or I want help with I don't know, like headaches, or with something that's more spiritual, or something that has to do with my family, or just like I think the environment that I'm in is just not right. Like, how do you choose, which one of these spiritual healers that are widely available, and these indigenous practitioners that are out there that have all this information and this knowledge? How do you choose which ones are the best ones to approach for which condition? That's a tough one, isn't it?
That's a that is a tough one. But I would say,
okay, no
yeah,
problem.
No,
I wanted
go
to
for
say
it, Ntokozo. Oh,
okay.
sorry.
the best way, guys, the best way is really to look at Msamu.
Okay.
You are asking which healer do you go to? Who must you choose? I think in a Western sense, you go to a doctor and the doctor recommends clicks 1, 2, 3. But for us, that diagnosis must first start within yourself, self-knowledge, and the best self-knowledge is Umsamo, because Umsamo is the first Umsamo is your heart, your mind, your body, yourself. You must know first yourself. And then once you know if the indigenous knowledge is existing in your context, then you will know what to take before you even look externally. Look first within yourself, and what can I use in my house to get rid of it?
Sorry, brother.
Before you get out.
I like what you're saying, but like that means people have to be like on a certain level of consciousness, in terms of just knowing and understanding themselves. And right now we live in a society where we are encouraged to seek for assistance, to not really think for ourselves. Like you get a headache, and the first thing is you think about is that, oh, I need to go see a doctor. You don't think about, oh wait, what's causing this headache? So if this is what's causing it, then how should I approach it? Because like now we're talking about raising people's consciousness, to be able to understand that and be able to do that. But do we think ukuthi sekuleyo level right now, to give kind of advice to people?
I don't think we're at that level yet. But I think if you can see you at that level, then fine, it's much easier for you, good for you. But if not, ukphahla is another way of being able to kind of self-diagnose yourself, but then now with the assistance of your previous selves or your ancestors to come and help you and say, this is the problem. So you sit with your candles and you say, I have a problem, NJ. Could you please help me identify who I can go to for assistance with this problem? And then sit and wait for whatever dreams or whatever thoughts or whatever messages you receive from the ethereal.
Okay. Again, that requires a certain level of self-trust, and confidence in what you're doing. And I think that's the reason why we have, all these practitioners, because the people need guidance, they need somebody who's gonna be like, okay, this is how you do like the practice like to pass, like even, so yes, you don't necessarily have to go and see anyone right now to help diagnose your condition or to even like treat it. Like you can do it yourself, but like how do you get to that level? You can say I'm doing it the right way, because there's also that doubt, and also I guess it comes from the fact that we are disconnected from I guess our ancestors which most of the time, and from the knowledge, of course. We've been alienated, and we've lost most of even the DNA knowledge that's inside us. It's difficult for us to tap into it.
Yeah.
So how then do we know, okay, if I go to this practitioner, then they might be able to advise me, tell me, I should pasha like this, or I should use salt water, or I should self-treat in this way, or I should self-diagnose in this way.
I think it would just, you have, the only way is to gain a level of self-trust, because no one can make you trust yourself. The only way is for you to practice and practice and then finally get to a stage where, okay, now saying you understand. But other than that, no one is going to be able to come inside you and see inside you what's going on inside you except for you. And the only people that might know that beyond you is your ancestors. So it's a matter of practicing that trust. It's not an easy journey. It's a difficult one. I've been on it. I'm still on it. But
And to
it's the
all.
only it's the only way, because if you think maybe you're gonna go to someone who's gonna say, I think I know where you need to go, you might get lost, because there's a lot of people who are lost but don't want to admit they're lost. So you might get lost. The best way is to pahle wena and see the dreams wena. Maybe when you get the dream, then you can go and seek interpretation of that dream then. But until then, uhambe emnyameni and you can get lost at any point.
I agree so much. I agree. You know, it begins with self. Again, I'm going to refer to ancient Kemet by saying that it is almost like a proverb, ekhulunywayo in the conscious circles. Kemet. The first rule is to know yourself, and then in your knowledge of self, then you know God. Now, this is the same thing. Again, I'm going to go back to the whole thing of the biblical thing, which there's a huge misinterpretation of even what the codes in the Bible were actually meant to send people towards. I'm not talking about the New Testament, that's mostly the Old Testament. You know, this dude called Moses, who goes to Egypt and grows up there, studies there, blah, 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 blah. But then all of a sudden, Egypt is an enemy because now he has killed someone. Now, the whole nation is a problem, and then a whole lot of lies are created around it. But you know, the first thing before he becomes initiated into becoming a prophet, what he does, he goes to the desert, he goes out, and then he meets a guy, and then this guy tells him that no, when the guy called Jethro, he says, go and seek out who you truly are. If you do not know who you truly are, you cannot tell us that you're gonna free all these people. When you yourself, you don't know who you are. You don't even know your own name. You don't know your parents. You don't know where you're from. You don't know what your bloodline is. But that is a story. Just like any inganekwane esifundisayo ukuthi izinto, don't be mean. You must be more compassionate. Don't be impatient. Don't be, so in order to regain ourselves, we must note the little things. And the little things are the stories that were told by our parents, whether they're in the biblical thing or whether it's just stories, moral things, Some of them were wrong, but a whole lot of them were right, Talking about to conduct yourself morally, no food. Those little things. Those are the indigenous knowledges that contain the medicine. And the greatest medicine, the greatest mood is your mind, your heart, your spirit, and then the nature, the environment. That must be kept clean, just like you must be kept clean. And if those things are polluted, the rest will be polluted because everything is interconnected, intersectional.
Yes, I'm glad that you said that. That everything is interconnected. Because now I'm thinking, like, if I self-diagnose and self-treat, and I have to go on this journey, by myself to find myself, what's the point then of people like, everyone else, like these indigenous traditional practitioners and healers and all of that.
They are signs. Those people in our societies are signs, because I wanted to say earlier that there's always been isgebengu emhlabeni, even in the wisest civilizations, whether it's in the biblical civilizations or ancient African civilizations, there's always been tricksters. There's always been people who are going to lead you astray. There's always been people who are going to steal from you. There's always been people who are going to take away your gifts to use it for themselves, just like they are today. It's just that manje sekwandile, because inhlupheko yandile, and commercial things zandile. Everything is done for material gain, and populations have risen. Before maybe we were 1 billion people. Now we are approaching 7 or 8 billion. So there's a rise in goodness. There's also a rise in a whole lot of negativity. So the reason why there are practitioners are like signs, signs along the way, the true practitioners, because even among practitioners, there are those who are ill practitioners, who are doing it for the wrong reasons, or doing it wrong, who are actually, someone is sitting as a sangoma, but they're supposed to be something else. Someone is sitting as an astrologer, but they're supposed to be something else. You know, so the misdirection causes more misdirection. That's why I think between myself and Thomas, we are insisting that the best direction is within. The best direction is yourself. Not to negate the others, to say that they are not important, but those who are true, they are there to send you back to self. If someone sends you and tells you that your solution is outside, I take that with a pinch of salt.
All right.
And it's also just about spiritual responsibility as a human being. As long as you have a spirit, you are responsible for that spirit because it is yours. It is you.
Very well said.
You're responsible for your body. You're responsible, just like you're responsible for your family. You're responsible for your spiritual life, your spiritual health, you know. And a whole lot of people are feeding the body, but they're not feeding the spirit. Why? Most of them don't know what to feed the spirit. They think to feed the spirit, you have to go to church, or you have to go to temple, or you have to go to Sangoma, or to Kobela, or to wherever, you know. So all these external links to yourself, you have to actually rediscover them for yourself. The more you rediscover them, the more, you know, in fact, that's why we say we are all healers. We are healers. And we also say towards the end of our pledge that whatever we got from nature, we will give back to nature what she has abundantly given us. It's not ours. Sibaphathiswa, siphathisiwe. Kufana nomzimba. Umzimba unikiwe nje ithuluzi so that you can use it to achieve what the spirit wants to achieve. And once the body expires, because with time it's going to expire, the spirit goes on to something else.
No, that's very true. You're very right in saying that we are all healers. Because, like, I'm just thinking about someone who's a cook, for example, you know, and they know what their calling is to just make food, and they make really good food. Because, like, when you eat it, you feel and that's them playing a role yabo abayizele la emhlabeni, and also healing abantu, you know, emotionally and mentally and in other ways too. And one can go as far as saying, you see, even with all these professions, you know, that exist right now, because like you find now there are our callings to a certain degree to heal the people, to heal the nation. But like, if you are doing it for the right reason and you are doing it because it is your thing, and you're not just doing it because, you know, there's money there or somebody told you you needed to do it, but if it's something that you feel, you know, I belong here, like some of us, like, for example, I had a dream way back, even before I knew and understood what research was. I think we've lost Parliament. But yes,
yeah, I think so.
Yes, but like, I had a dream where this old woman came to me and said, "You are a researcher," you know. And I was like, wait, what? You know, some people get dreams telling them, we are going to answer La Payana or whatever. Why am I getting a dream about being a researcher? You know, and now that I've been walking this path and I've been doing this, it makes so much sense. And to me, this is my indigenous path, you know, this is my indigenous journey, this is my indigenous calling, like my own spiritual contribution or journey to contribution to the whole or journey in this world. So everybody, whether you're a filmmaker, whether you're like an artist, whether you're a cook, whether you're an engineer, whether you whatever, like, if what you are doing is something that you feel which you have been called into doing, then that makes you an indigenous practitioner, especially if what you're doing is giving back to a community yako, and you are getting, you know, the wisdom and the knowledge from it. It's not just from the books, you know, that you're reading at school, but you're also getting it from like a family or from your ancestors and all of that. That makes you an indigenous practitioner. So this a spectrum, let's say, indigenous practitioners, it's very wide, and basically just like include everybody who is in touch with themselves and is in touch with their roots, with their ancestors, with their spirits, and somebody who is living basically like the best version of themselves, or the vision that they believe, the best version of themselves, and that contributes to the betterness of the, society. Yeah. All right. Great. Yeah, so I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, just like final words. We keep on losing.
For me, it's just I wish as people, if we could all just search within, it would solve the issue of what we are experiencing with our healers at this point now. Because if everyone goes within, then they're more likely to find their true calling, which means when they go and they practice their true calling, they're practicing something that is aligned with them, which means they can't go wrong.
That's very true.
So yeah,
But at the same time, I also want to add, Uguti, it doesn't necessarily mean Uguti healers and indigenous practitioners and all the people Uguti go wrong in what they're doing, because as I said, Uguti, in a way, we all, as long as you are following like your innate calling, you are an indigenous practitioner. And so everybody has been called to do something. And if you find yourself uhlangana with a traditional healer that's helping you, or that you feel will be able to help you with something, then that's you also, that's your journey, and that's the person that you're supposed to work with.
Exactly, it's the choice you made for yourself.
Yes, to get back to yourself. So we all need each other at the end of the day. Like there's nothing that we can do by ourselves. Like we are all interconnected, just like what Menzi was saying. And yeah, as much as we are all interconnected, we also these very unique like individualistic beings, so to speak. So we are also just walking our own unique journeys, but we everything that we come across, and everyone that we come across, and everyone that comes into our life, and everyone that we find ourselves interacting with, they are going to help us to get back to that place where we are content, in ourselves,
and
basically like at home. So yes, I think that's it. Yeah, thank you so much. I think this has been great. I was only supposed to be 15 minutes, but hey, this is what happens when these three get together. So if there's anything else that you want to know, explore about Indigenous practitioners and the journey of Indigenous practitioners, so yeah, put a comment with my comment section. Yes, just reach out to us, email us, text us, reach out. Anything else that you want to say, just to like close up?
No, I think you covered everything. Okay. Just thanks to everyone, all the listeners out there. Thank you for supporting us. Other than that, yeah.
Yes, all right, great. Thank you, and do subscribe, share, and like. All right, thank you so much. We want to say Tamagu. We want to say thank you, and blessings to you all. Much love. Okay.